Holiday Happenings. I'm Lisa Oligus, and this is Newsmakers. In this edition, we look at two separate theatrical events to help you celebrate the Christmas season early. We will visit with members of the cast of Elf the Musical at Joplin Little Theater. And full disclosure, I am the director and choreographer of that show. And we will learn about the show An Evening in Kringle City from the author himself, Dave Smith, and his co-star, MSSU freshman Anne-Marie Wright. We begin with Elf and want to welcome the star of the show, Buddy, played by Jeff Phillips, and Mom Emily, played by Bethany Newsome. So she is also a member of the Joplin Little Theater Board. Welcome. Thanks for being here. So, Jeff, I'd like to begin with you because this is not his first time that he has tackled the effervescent character, Buddy the Elf, which Will Ferrell did bring to life in the New Line Cinema movie Elf by David Berenbaum. What do you love about Buddy?
The thing that I love about Buddy is that I've found over the years that he is a lot like me personally, where I am fully adult, but in my mind, I'm still a little bit of a kid who just loves Christmas. And so playing this role was sort of falling into it, really, instead of playing it, was just such an amazing journey for me personally to discover this thing that I love about myself, which is I like not taking life so seriously, and I really do just love the Christmas season. So putting those two things together just made this a dream role for me. So the fact that I get to play this role again was just such a delight for me personally, and sort of in my acting career, whatever it is. Getting to do it again was just such a treat for me personally.
So Buddy is on stage 95% of the show. So how tough is that?
Well, the first time around, it was really tough because I'm super bad at memorization. So memorizing all of those lines was very, very hard. The great thing that I think for this show and for you as a director is that I'm sort of remembering a lot of those lines. So I'm not struggling as much as I did the first time around. Shout out to my previous director. I'm so sorry. But so that really was the hardest part, is trying to pack all of those things in between lines and dance moves and where I'm supposed to be on stage at any given time. That was the hardest thing for me, is trying to remember just all of that stuff. But
yeah. So Emily, you get to play the mom in the show, and Michael is your son, and then you're married to Walter, who doesn't believe in Santa. How dare he? So tell us what you enjoy about the show. Why did you want to be an Elf, the musical?
I think, that whole Christmas spirit, you get to bring that to life. One of the things that I really appreciate about the show dates is it's almost like it kicks off the whole Christmas season right there before Thanksgiving. It just encompasses everything, and we get to spend a lot of time with that joy and happiness, and it's just going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. So Elf the Musical has been on Broadway twice before and is currently playing on Broadway again, which good for us as well. The book is well respected, written by Broadway show writers Thomas Meehan and Bob Martin, music by Matthew Sklar, and lyrics by Chad Bigulin. Sklar and Bigulin created the Broadway show The Wedding Singer and The Prom. And Marcus Van Doren is our musical director, who's amazing teaching it. What do you all think of the music? It can be kind of complex.
yeah, so I think the most challenging part, and I won't speak for Emily or the rest of the cast really, is just like the music for this particular show is, in a lot of ways, a lot of fun. It's sort of jazzy, and there's a lot of opportunity for sort of movement, and it kind of gets your toes tapping. But for a musician, it's actually incredibly challenging. Some of the musical cues that actors in musicals will know kind of what that means, are sometimes really difficult to find. And so that made this show, it added to the fun that we get to have playing in this show, because it gives you a bit of a challenge. It's not that sort of cookie cutter musical from the 1950s or 40s or 60s, or that golden age era of musicals. The music is just a little bit more deep and challenging, even though the subject matter is kind of fun and silly and Christmassy. But the music really is fun. A ton of the songs are just so fun. And you even get a few songs that are just really heartwarming and touching.
Yeah.
And so just the challenge of some of the musicality of this show was just such a great breath of fresh air for me as an actor to be able to meet that challenge.
If you're looking at the musical score, it'll say it swings, and it really does. It has a lot of swing style music, jazzy music. And Emily's character, Bethany, your character, has some of my favorite songs because those are the heart tugging kind of songs. What do you think of the music?
I think that, okay, so you said fun and uplifting, but a lot of that too, like conveying that on stage, it takes a lot of energy. So you really have to bring that energy so the people out in the audience can feel that happiness and that joy and that energy. And they're quick. So a lot of times you're singing at a really fast pace and those tongue twisters can get to you. But again, fun. And once you get it, you swing with it. Or I think one of my favorite descriptions was, like Buddy energy in one of the songs. Sing it like Buddy would.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, let's go.
Which is just 100 all the time.
Yeah. he's running on sugar, maple syrup.
Yep.
What are the 5 food groups again, Jeff?
5 food groups are cookies, candy canes, candy corns, and syrup.
That's right. You gotta have all, and with that, at your energy level, you're going to go lightning speed. So Elf is really a story about believing in Santa, in something you can't usually see, in Christmas spirit. That's kind of a focus of one of your songs, Bethany. So tell us about how that impacts your character in knowing that, it's questioning whether or not you believe.
Yeah, well, so my character is married to one of the non-believers. And we have a younger son, and you kind of see the joy being kind of pulled away from him, and she's doing everything she can to give him back that joy and to try to really, no, let's believe in this, let's do this together. So making sure that the spirit of Christmas stays with her younger son is her goal.
And Buddy's a big influence.
Oh, well, absolutely.
You can't really deny when Buddy comes into the scene, he brings that special effervescence. So, and Buddy has his own identity crisis, though, in the show, because as we know, he discovers that he was taken by Santa in Santa's bag and discovers he's human. So talk about that, Jeff. I mean, you do a great job of bringing the energy that a child has when it comes to Christmas. What does it take to tap into that for you, that energy, and then his identity of finding himself?
Yeah,
So,
I think the part of the role for me is that sort of identity searching that we all go through when we're just as humans. And so when you're a kid growing up, there's a point in your life where you have to sort of start making some choices about who it is you are going to be. And so for Buddy, that just happened when he's in his 30s.
late bloomer.
Because, he's a late bloomer. Because for the first, 20 some odd years of his life, he thinks that he's an elf. And then he discovers that he's not an elf. And so what do you do when you find out suddenly later in life that you are not this thing that you've always thought that you were? And so he gets to have that sort of defining moment later in his life. But that defining moment, I think we all at some point hit. Some of us hit it in our teens or our 20s. He just hit it a little bit later, where he discovers, oh, I'm not this, I am this. Well, what does that mean, and what can I do with that? And I think that, personally, I think Buddy figures it out brilliantly. But
Of course. So I know for me as a director of a show, the big challenge is having such a big show that Broadway producers create with a budget of up to $1 million or more, and we're translating that to a smaller stage, smaller budget. Jeff, what's been the biggest challenge for you in doing this part?
not having $1 million probably is the biggest challenge. No, I think the biggest challenge is, and it's not even really, I don't think anything negative. I think the biggest challenge for any community theater or small theater group is trying to translate what the Broadway shows do or the big theaters can do in a way that makes sense for your own community. And so I think that you as a director and Joplin Little Theater as a theater, along in partnership with their board, have done brilliantly to try and create the atmosphere and scenes of this show in a way that makes sense, closest to the source material, in a way that we can do it with, what maybe limited resources.
And I don't think people will be disappointed that it really isn't that far from the movie. It's it's inspired by the movie. It is very similar. You won't think, oh, they changed it so dramatically.
Exactly.
They've added music, and it is a show that can sing.
Yes, and that's what I've been telling people is that this show, if you've seen the movie, you're going to love this show. If you love the movie, you're really going to love this show, because what the show really does is it just adds songs to the movie. The storyline is 95% the same. There are a few different things because they wouldn't translate to the stage very well, I'm sure. But overall, if you love the movie, you're going to love the show. And if you love music, you're just going to love it even more.
Do you all have a favorite scene?
Oh.
I do.
What's yours?
I love the big finale.
You get to tap dance.
I do get to tap dance, and
Buddy does not get to tap dance.
well, you're missing out. I mean, I'm really excited because I grew up as a dancer, and I got to do that whenever I was a kid and all the recitals. But unfortunately, as an adult, if you tap dance in the middle of the street, people look at you like you're crazy.
Yeah.
So I get to go up on stage, and that's one of my favorite things about doing musicals is I get the opportunity to dance again.
Yeah.
And it's a great feeling.
Yeah. Well, the show is dedicated to the memory of a longtime JLT member, Heather Harb-Riley, who was an actor, singer, dancer, choreographer, and director. She passed away just over a year ago in June, and it is generously underwritten by William H. Perry III, an attorney with Cardinal Scale. Heather was a beloved dance teacher, and her daughter Allison is helping create that choreography, the tap dancing, for one of the numbers. And Bethany, you knew Heather as well, I believe. What is it like doing this show in her honor, and how important is dance to you?
Well, I had the pleasure of having Heather choreograph me in a few different shows. So she just had this amazing spirit about her. And honestly, choosing a show where it has an amazing spirit and an amazing message and just this uplifting and bright feeling is a great way to really honor Heather.
Yeah. So, Bethany, the board is planning a special reception for season ticket holders on Saturday. Tell us about that and how other people could participate if they wanted to.
Yeah, so if you come on Saturday, whether you're a season ticket holder or not, you can participate in our reception. If you are a season ticket holder, we are doing it for you. But if you just want to come and join, then we're selling tickets for $10. It's going to be a good time and enjoy yourself and come and celebrate with us, especially since it's one of our big anniversaries. So.
Yes, it's our 85th anniversary of the Joplin Little Theater. So thank you both for sharing all the insights into your characters and the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Well, if you want to see Elf, that's great. The tickets are moving fast. It runs from November 20th through the 24th with evening performances at 7:30 p.m. and a Sunday matinee at 2:30 p.m. Tickets are selling fast. You can find a link to show clicks at the Joplin Little Theater website, joplinlittletheater.org, or call the box office at 417-623-3638. We'll be right back with a look at an evening in Kringle City. An Evening in Kringle City isn't based on a movie. Rather, it is the brainchild of a Joplin High School teacher who has walked in Santa's shoes a few times. But playing Santa is now a full-blown musical and even a children's book. Let's meet the author, Dave Smith, and his co-star Anne-Marie Wright, a student here at Missouri Southern State University. Welcome to Newsmakers.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us, Lisa. Really appreciate it.
This is the story of Santa and his chief elf, told from the North Pole and the magical, mysterious hidden city where Santa and his elves are hard at work. So Dave, where'd you get this idea?
Well, it's been a while. Let me think back. It's been a number of years that I've been working on this. It started out as a book. The book was first.
Okay.
Actually, it started out as a different book, which was only a real short little thing that I wrote for my daughter. And then I thought, well, I can expand this. And it just kept growing and it kept growing and turned into what I thought was a pretty neat story. And then I thought, well, what do I want to do with this? Rather than just kind of get it printed and get it out there, I've got a lot of theater in my background and I wanted to bring this to the stage. So it grew into a show out of the book.
So in a nutshell, give us a story. And did you start out thinking this could be musical?
I didn't really think about it as a musical. No, not when I was writing the book. There's more to the show than the book. Okay, so the first part of the show is a lot of interaction with Holly the elf and Santa and the audience, and we just have this really fun rapport. We tell a lot of stories. We sing some songs, and then the second half of the show, we bring the book to life. We perform the book, do a live performance of the book. So yeah, an evening in Kringle City. Kringle City is sort of my vision of what the capital city of the North Pole. And Santa is up there, and it's Christmas morning, and everyone has left. All the elves have gone on vacation because they're done for the year. They got their work done. So the only person that's left up there, the only two people, are Santa and his chief elf assistant, and they're closing up the shop. They're getting ready to go. And they discover that someone has jumped on Santa's sleigh with him, unbeknownst to him until he got back to the North Pole, and they have to figure out a way to get him back home.
So it is kind of a story in a story.
It is, yeah, it is. It's again, a lot of Christmas holiday type entertainment at the beginning. Some origins, where did Santa come from? Where did Holly come from? We tell that story a little bit. We tell some stories about the reindeer and the elves and all the stuff that goes on at Kringle City. A lot of humor, a lot of comedy that not just little kids will enjoy, but adults will enjoy as well. Kind of an old, how the Muppets used to be, where the comedy was for kids, but it was aimed at adults as well.
Yeah.
So we've got some of that going on. And then we get into the story from the book and tell that story.
So before we get into that story, Anne-Marie, you play Holly the elf. So Anne-Marie's been involved in theater since she was 4. We've worked together at Joplin Little Theater. She's a beautiful dancer, even choreographed a song for Elf the Musical, which we discussed earlier. So Anne-Marie, tell us, what's been your involvement in the creative side of this project?
Well, Dave came to me a couple years ago after he'd written his book and said, "Hey, can I read this to you?" I said, "Absolutely."
It was story time. I read it.
It was amazing. And so, of course, brought me to tears the first time he read it to me, and I immediately felt connected to the story. I told him, I said, "You have something big here, and you need to expand upon it." And he told me, he said, "I'd like to eventually get this on the stage, and I'd like you to be my Holly." I didn't take much convincing. I was absolutely in, and so we started last year really working on. He brought me the script and we had a read through, and it resonated with me just as much as the book did the first time I read it, and I was extremely excited to be in working on the project. And so we've worked together to craft some new little bits and everything on stage, add some new jokes in, and so we've really taken Dave's script, and I feel lucky to say that I've helped maybe add a couple new funny things in there and bring Holly to life, which I'm extremely, extremely grateful to have the opportunity to do.
We all actually worked together many moons ago in the show Miracle on 34th Street at Joplin Little Theater. Anne-Marie was just 7 years old and already had star power.
She
as the
did.
girl who came to believe in Santa. Dave, did you think then that you might work again with Anne-Marie?
I didn't really know at the time. I had a blast working with Anne-Marie and Ashley Trotnick, who's the theater director at Joplin High School. We were a little family in the show, and and then I've just watched Anne-Marie grow up. She went to school with one of my daughters, or
All
two of my,
three- all three of your
three of my
children.
kids, yeah, and they were all in choir together and plays together and shows together. So I've watched Anne Marie grow up on the stage, and so when it came time to say, who do I want to approach to play Holly, it was really kind of a no-brainer. I mean, Anne Marie was my first choice. So,
Yeah. You and I once had a discussion about believing in Santa while at the same time believing in the Nativity and the birth of Jesus. How do the two compare, and does belief resonate from your show here?
Yeah, I think there's definitely an element of belief and faith in the show. It's not an overtly heavy religious theme in the show, but there is certainly an element of faith that you pretty much would have to be blind to not pick up on. And I think that's a very, very important part of the show, part of the book. Santa Claus is at the beginning of the story, he's very disgruntled. He's unhappy about how Christmas is becoming this high-tech thing. I used to make bicycles and roller skates and scooters, but now they want, cell phones and TVs and computers, and it's just way too high-tech, and the reindeer are getting slower. There's a line where he says, I'm like milk that's expired. I'm so past my prime. and I'm just tired of this. I'm ready to give up. And he realizes by the end of the story that the reason that he was put on this earth and given the role that he was given, and the part that he plays in Christmas, is that of giving. And that's the role that he plays in Christmas, and he says, I'll never doubt that again, and I'll never take that for granted, because that's why I've been allowed to live all of these years that I've lived, and to be a giver of gifts, and I'm never going to doubt that again.
How'd the show develop? And I mean, you even sing and dance. So, did you have a role in choreographing this?
I did. We have one sort of dance. We have one number where we dance, and it's a rendition of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And so I was able to choreograph that number. So it's been fun.
Yeah, that's
And how do you rehearse and work it out?
Oh yeah, we actually have been rehearsing. I teach over at Joplin High School in the Jet HD area down there, so we have several studios that are available to us. And so we're not able to get on the stage at the Cornell Center, obviously, because they have so many other shows that are going on and performances that they bring in. So we kind of have to rehearse off-site. So we just kind of turn the studio into a makeshift stage, and we rehearse over there. Anne Marie is, I told her, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is the only song in the show that I didn't write, okay? So everything else is a song that I wrote. But I told her on that choreography part, I said, all right, you're going to be better at this than I am. No question about this. I was years ago, 30, 40 years ago, I was involved in choir and show choir and things like that. And so I can learn choreography, but it's been a long time. I said, don't dumb it down for me. If I can't get it, we'll dumb it down. But anyway, she's done a phenomenal job with the choreography, and she's got some songs that she sings that I wrote for her to sing that are just beautiful.
Did you ever envision yourself as a songwriter? I mean, where did this come from, Dave?
Well, I've been a living room musician my whole life, performing for my family as they're passing through the living room. But I've written a number of songs over the years, and these songs just kind of they came out of the whole process, the whole story. She's got a song called Just This Once that I wrote that she talks about, as you grow up, you kind of forget about the magic, and you kind of forget about other things in life kind of take priority. But just this once, I'm gonna go back and let myself be a kid again. I'm gonna let myself experience Christmas the way I did when I was a child. And so it's a beautiful ballad that she sings, and it's unbelievable, Lisa, when I sit there and I bang out the notes on the piano, and it sounds like me banging out notes on a piano. When you give that to somebody who has an incredible gift like Anne Marie does, and you hear her sing your song for the first time, it's just one of the most, it's just kind of an awe-inspiring moment. Wow.
Anne-Marie, what is it like to sing original music? I mean, is that kind of a neat thing? You're on the cusp of something that who knows where it'll go.
It's extremely surreal to be performing a set of original songs written by somebody that I've known my entire. It's crazy. If you would have asked me 6 or 7 years ago if this was what I thought I would be doing, I'd be like, you're crazy. I'm not. I'm from a small town. I do a lot of community theater, but nothing like this. And so I've talked the entire creative process about it just being one of the coolest things I've ever been able to experience in my performance career. And so not only has it been a joy to watch Dave go through this whole process, because I was there when the book had been finished being written, and then once he was writing the stage show, but now being able to perform this music, it's neat being able to say that I am bringing a new character to life.
And you're the first. So, I mean, are there
first to
any
do it.
challenges in that? Like, how do we want it to sound? I guess it's how I want it to sound.
Absolutely. I've wanted to make sure that I bring Dave's vision to life, because above all, Holly she comes from Dave. And so I want to make sure that I'm doing her justice in his mind as well. Absolutely. It's a little different having the playwright in-house. You want to make sure that you're fulfilling the vision, but at the same time, I've had a great time sort of bringing my own sort of spin and personality to the character while still keeping Holly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the book, and it came first then, but it's part of the show.
Right.
And so did you change anything from last year? Was the first time you performed this? You wowed crowds. They loved it. How much changed? A little bit?
A little bit. It's mostly the same show, but we've added a little bit more. We're going to do, or I can't promise this. We'll see if I have the nerve to do it, but a section where Santa plays his guitar on the stage, and it's just a real silly, fun little thing that Santa does. So that's new this year. But for the most part, it's pretty close to the same show that we did.
Well, I know it was very popular last year, so tell us when, where, and how people get tickets.
So one night only, December the 7th, at the Harry M. Cornell Arts and Entertainment Complex. They're on 7th Street in Joplin. It's the beautiful new facility over there. And Connect to Culture has been great working with me. It was so wonderful. I walked in off the street one day, and I had known Emily Frankowski at Connect to Culture for a while, but I just said, hey, can I come over and talk to you? And I said, and they bring in shows from New York and Chicago and wherever they come. And I say, hey, I'm this guy from Joplin. I got this show. Would you let me do it here at the?
Yeah.
And honestly, to be 100% honest, I didn't have a complete show at that time. But they took a chance on me, and they did it. And I just, my hat's off to them.
And now
I
that
appreciate
you're welcome back.
Yeah, but it's December 7th at the Cornell Center, 7 o'clock p.m. Tickets are available at connecttoculture.org. You can also call the number, which is 417-501-5550.
Excellent. Well, thank you for telling us all about An Evening in Kringle City.
Thanks so
Thank you
much
for having
having
us.
us. Really appreciate it.
All right. Well, we hope you find something you like to kick off your holiday entertainment season. Thanks to our guests, and thank you for watching Newsmakers.